Hello, my name is Joseph Pirayo. I want to welcome you to this portion of in the beginning, Ashur. There is some echo. Sorry about that. Uh, as always, this program is live. Those of you who are watching it, and my apologies, we started 1 hour late in the United States because of time change, but everything is good. Echo is gone. And as I said, welcome to the program. Any comments, any questions, anything you have, you can send us. I try to answer it during the live program. If not, we're doing it later. Today's program, I'm asking if any of you, when I'm going through the information that I'm sharing with you, if you know any more more detailed information you want to send it to us, I would be really appreciative. The last, this is part two of Ashur B.C. before clergy. So most of you that have been watching this program, you know, the purpose is identity. Our identity is, I don't know how to put it. I believe that we have an identity crisis, which has been a big stumbling block or stumbling stone, stumbling something that has not allowed us to not unite, but reunite as a people. And I mentioned the previous programs when we talk about we as the Ashuri, who are we? We are the ones that claim to be Ashuri. The history, as I said, going back, my scope wasn't as big, but we have people from, for the past 30, 40 years, we're mostly from the Middle East, from Iran, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Lebanon, some Jordan, some in Israel or Palestine, however you want to put it. But last 30, 40 years, we have spread all over. But who are the Ashuri? We know for a fact that has been problems. How do I know? Because we have the names Arameans, Chaldeans, what is the other one? Syriacs, Assyrian, all of these that when you look at the history is somehow related to the Christian faith. But today I want to go back as a short trip, like what happened from the time of the fall of the Ashur Empire until Christianity. That's when our ancestors, according to history, became Christian. So let's go through some maps because I want to focus on the region. These are the regions that our ancestors originally are from. So I have the map of Assyrian Empire. As you can see, all these Caspian Sea, Black Sea, Mediterranean, Red Sea, Persian Gulf, this region that is called the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of civilization, Middle East. This is where our people ruled up until 600 years before Christ. Then after Assyrian Empire, Babylonian Empire came, and we showed the map of a Babylon Empire is pretty much same area. You have the map, Babylon. So what I'm trying to go through is that through different empires, same area that our ancestors, after the loss of their empire, lived. Just want to give you a view of where, of who was ruling over there, over them. So after the Babylonian Empire comes the Achaemenids, Cyrus the Great, the first Persian Empire that they were what they call it, the combination of Medes and Persians, and they conquered that same area that our ancestors are there. So if we can show that to the Persian Empire also, I'm going to go through these maps really quick. So same thing here. Uh, can you open it up a little bit? So I want our people to see that part that says Ekbatana and Susa. So these are, uh, what do we have here? No, that's the Alexander Empire. Before we go, the Persian Empire. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we have the Persians, they ruled in the same area. Then after the Persians, they come, as you can see, the place that says Susa, Ekbatana. These are centers during the time of the Persian Empire, of the rule of their power. So as you can see, the same area that you can see the Assyria, these are our people under the rule of the Persians, Achaemenids, Hachomanishi, Cyrus and his dynasty. Then after the Persians, there comes the Alexander the Great. He rules over the same general, I mean, not general, over the same area. As a matter of fact, after he goes to India and comes back, he makes Babylon his capital city. And a very young age, 32, 33 years old, he dies. Huge empire is left. So after Alexander dies, he had four generals. And those four generals, Ptolemy, Cassander, uh, Seleucus, and Antigonus. But before Antigonus, there was this other guy, Lysimachus, that they wanted to take over. Regardless, Ptolemy, Cassander, Seleucus, and Antigonus, they divide the empire that Alexander built into four parts. The part that our ancestors fall into is under Seleucus. So the Seleucus, the empire, let's show the other one, the yellow one. So of the four general, Seleucus gets the biggest portion of the empire. As you can see, the other three, Ptolemy goes into Egypt, and the other two, they stay in Europe. Now, Seleucus around 300 BC, as you can see, the territory is so huge, goes of all over, all the way through Persia, Iran, of today, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all the way to India. That's where, what's his name, Alexander stops and comes back. So 300 BC, that's the empire. But by the year 87, we have a map that shows the shrinking of that Seleucid empire. So still same area, same general area that our ancestors. And I want you to pay attention to, can you make big that part that says Osrobon? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, because I'm going to get back to that part because that's a buffer area that was between the Roman and so Oserhoin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Why I'm mentioning that, because I'm going to get, when we get to King Abgar, the Black Abgar Kuma. So we see from the time that the Ashur Empire falls, we have the Babylonians, the Achaemenids, Persians, Alexander the Great, Seleucus, and the Seleucus Empire shrinks. Then comes two empires that take over that region. One of them is the Parthian that are ruling over the Persia. The other one is Roman. So there's another map that we have, if you can show that with that red circle. So that one, it gives you a general idea. This is the time that Jesus shows on the history, time of history, that there was these two empires, Parthians and Romans, in the Middle East. They had these buffer regions. Sometimes it's Armenia, sometimes it's that Osrohen, different parts, because they keep fighting. They go back and forth. But this is the general area. I just wanted to show you that when Christianity starts, this is the time. Parthians and Romans in Middle East. Now, I want you to keep in mind, we went from 600 to, let's say, 33 AD. Our ancestors. Now, what did they do? I don't have that much information regarding the history of if they had any uh, significant contribution to the world, because we get a lot from before, when the empire was there, Library of Ashurbanipal, Cradle of Civilization, all of these great things, the cuneiform writings. Now, when it comes to the time in Christianity, uh, starts, I wanted to show something here. Um, let's see. Do we have those tablets? You know, the guy with the, yeah, purse or whatever it's called, a handbag. So when you look at the time back before the empire was there, there is that writing. It's called cuneiform writing. So this is 600 BC when the Ashur Empire. I'm relating between Ashur Empire until the time of Christianity. At that time, our writing was in cuneiform. But when it comes time during Christianity, we have this other writing, right? That alphabet that nowadays is being used, right? I don't know when the transition happened. You check the. Can we show that alphabet also? When we had the transition that happened with the alphabet and what they call, trying to think, the writing. Because when Christianity started, uh, apostles, disciples, there were letters going back and forth. Do we have the alphabet? Can you share that over there, please? So, so by the time that Christianity arrives, this is the alphabet that our ancestors were using, right? How do I know? Because there are some books out there. One of them is Fire and Blood. It says the price paid for our English Bible. And the English Bible being the King James Version, all these different versions that came out. And they say one of the sources that they go to is what they call the Syriac translations, Syriac manuscripts. Okay, who are these Syriac? Who are these that write in Syriac? That it helps people that translate the Bible into English use the letters. So I'm trying to put our people that were in that region under different empires, and at the same time, the transition from cuneiform to alphabet, the mode of communication through before was through tablets, then it became through parchments or leather or paper or whatever you call it. So there are two things happening here. This is when Jesus comes, does whatever he does in the Bible. We talk about that. And then you have these people that call themselves Christian, Assyrian, Ashuri. As I mentioned, we have two empires in that region, right? And our people are within those two empires existing. Now, one thing that we find out is that, uh, well, let me first go through, when did our Ashur become Christian? It's not one specific time that everybody became Christian because it cannot happen like that, especially when you have your people in two different empires. How do I know that our people were in both two empires? Is that, well, let's look at, remember that part I told you about Oshorn, that it was on the map of the, can we show that, the map of Seleucia, 87 BC? Can we show that? So can we show that map? Not that one. The us regard. It's okay. We're getting a little bit. It's okay. No, not that one. Go back to the map of Seleucus 87. If you can do that, one more. Go back to the, or no, no. Go forward. Go forward. So yeah. So that portion that says Oshorn, this is the kingdom of Black Upgard, the Black Upgard Kuma. That there is, the story, is it true? Is it just whatever you might call that? But there is something in the history that talks about the king of that territory. Now, that Oshorn, territory falls within the buffer zone of the Parthians, the Seleucians, before losing their territory. Then the Romans, they came over and they took over that part. But regardless, early on in the history of Christianity that started, there is a history of this king Abgar that he is called Syriac. He's Syrian, right? The word Syria in English. That's how. Then you look back. Okay, who was this guy? They said, well, the word Syria, the Greeks, you know, just couldn't say She or Ashur. They put Syria, and we have the Syria of today. What I'm trying to say is that in the beginning of the history of our people becoming Christian, we have a portion that is in that King Abgar, that is that buffer zone in the Syria part of Syria of today. But at the same time, uh, if we show that Acts 2 9 11, I know I'm putting so many things together, but we'll put everything together. So this is the time that before Peter does his first sermon that the church started. This is the day of Pentecost, and there are all these people gathered in Jerusalem for the feast of what it's called, uh, first fruit, feast of Passover. This is when you look at the feast that God gave to Moses. 3 times a year they would gather by the temple in Jerusalem. This is the first time, the feast of Passover, unleavened bread, and first fruits. That's why there are so many people over there. And when the disciples they start speaking, they are speaking so many different languages. And when you get to that part, it says Parthians, Medes, Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia, Egypt, parts of all these areas, that they had come to Jerusalem for the feast. So there are a lot of people that are over there. You see, Parthians, Medes, Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia. These are Jews. And at that day, 3,000 people convert to Christianity. So they are there for the feast. Then they go back to their places. They go back to the Parthian part, to the Medes, Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia. That's a huge area. What do you mean? I mean, they're just trying to cover everything. So when we read this, the part that Abgar Kuma is in the Roman Empire, these residents were able to come to Jerusalem into the Roman Empire, then they go back to the Persian Empire and take their belief and faith with them, right? What else do we have? So maybe when our ancestor became Christian, then there was in the time of the king Abgar in that region. Then these people go over there back to Parthia, Mesopotamia, this and that. They spread. Then we have from uh, First Peter. Do you have that? So Peter is sending a letter to the believers, and he says in that letter, the church that is at Babylon, elected together with you, salutes you, and so does Marcus, my son. Now, where is Babylon? Babylon is in the Persian Empire portion of that Middle East. Because during the time that Peter lived, they still had two empires. One was Persian, Parthian, the other one was the Roman. So when Peter goes over there to Babylon, our people are still there. There is some, and then we have the book, Dr. Vigram, he writes this book. Talks about the introduction to the history of the Assyrian church or the church of the Sassanid Persian Empire, but he covers from year 100 to 640. Year 100, Parthians were still ruling over Persia or Iran of today. So the Parthians rule ends around 250, 260 after Christ. So the history that Dr. Vigram covers here covers during the Parthian time and during the Sassanid, right? Okay, where are you going, Joseph? So many things like throwing at us. What is the point here? Let me throw you another thing. Acts 11. Let's check that out too. Acts 11, 19, 26. You don't need to read the whole part, but in that portion it says, and it was in Antioch that the disciples were first called Christians. Now, when it says disciples, it's not that 11 disciples, because you have to know the difference between disciples and apostles. Disciples were the ones that were with Jesus. It was 12 of them, one of them commits suicide. They choose another one, which we never hear from in these books. So disciples that mentioned here are the ones that after the disciples and the apostles went spread Christianity, and it is spread in Antioch, and it becomes so strong over there that they say, who are these people? They say they are Christians. So the first time the word Christian is used is in Antioch. So what? What is the point, Joseph? Right? Who lives in Antioch? Where is Antioch of that time? See, we have a map. Back there was a Soviet Union, right? All these different countries, Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Armenia, this and that. But there is a region called Armenia. Do you know why it's called Armenia? Because Armenians live there, right? So, well, it is Syria. You know, we have this problem. People tell us, who are you? Where are you from? I said, I'm a Syrian. They say, oh, you're Syrian. Yeah, and we correct them. I'm realizing we don't need to correct them that no, I'm not Syrian. I'm a Syrian. What is Syria? I was looking at maps. Can we show that map? I don't know how accurate these maps are, like the ones I showed you about Ashur Empire, Babylon, all these other maps. It covers a general area. Maybe it's not exact, like dots, like this area, but I found this greater Syria. There was a time that this whole area was called Syria. Do you know why? You check, you go to, what is that? AI, Chat GPT, whatever it's called. You put, where did the word, the country Syria originated from? They say Syria is the old Assyria. These Greeks, they come and screw up all the names. Suroya, Suryaya, Syria, Surya. The greater Syria. This was the area our ancestors lived there. And it was named after who? After the people that lived there. Our people, our ancestors. Then that greater Syria, as these different countries come and they take over, today, after the fall of the Ottoman Turks, the boundaries of Syria of today is this. Can we show that? This is the Syria of today, right? Yet the name is Syria. You look at the map, it says above it Turkey. Then next to it, we have Armenia, we have Georgia, we have Azerbaijan, we have Egypt on the south, Iraq, Iran. Where do these people, these areas get their names from? Israel, Jordan, Cyprus, the people that they identified themselves with that area. The problem that we have, that is the try to keep it rated PG. The issue is that with different languages, foreigners have changed our name. We have accepted that name, and by accepting that has created more confusion, because Syria and uh, I mean, there are big problems in Syria right now. Bashar Assad, he left the country a few months ago. Now the new people, they're coming over. I don't have too much information on that, but apparently they're killing the Alawites that were Bashar Assad's people. It's a Shiite sect. And in addition, they're killing Christians. Now, that's another part. I'm not very familiar with too much the story that is going on. You should watch Assyria TV, that they provide information on the news, what is going on over there, what is happening. But the point is that there is a nation out there that carries our name. There is a history out there, as when our ancestors became Christian, they are in that area. Now, I mentioned about Peter going to Babylon, right? Peter didn't go to Babylon to preach to our people. Acts 15, when you read Acts 15, it says what? It says church split. There were two teachings. One for the Christians, for the Jews that became Christians, The other teaching was for the non-Jews that became Christians. And they chose Paul, one person, to send them to the Gentiles throughout the whole world to preach to them Christianity. And Peter, James, brother of Jesus, and all these other people, they would go preach to the Jews. Now, why go to Babylon? You have to go back to the history of Ashur Empire, Babylon Empire. When they took over these lands, they switched people. They transferred from one area to the other one during Nebuchadnezzar. I think there were like some 600,000 Jews. They were moved to the like Nahran area, the Iran of Iraq of today map. If you look at it, that's where these people were moved to. That's why Peter went to preach to the Jews of that time. But Paul, chapter 15 of Acts, he goes to Syria. He goes to Antioch. Who became Christian in Antioch? When I'm looking at the evidence, it's our people, my ancestors. Why? Because Antioch is in Syria. Who lives in Syria? Ashuri people. Now, why they switched, that's a different story. But the first time that the disciples were called Christian was in Antioch is a sign that our ancestors, both in the area of the Romans, both in the area of the Persians, at different times, through Abgar Kuma, through the people that they were Day of Pentecost in Parthia, this and that area, they moved to the place, they talk about Christianity. And these are the times that our ancestors became Christian. Okay, that's good, very nice. But it's Christianity that is stopping us from becoming one nation, Ashur. Is it? This would be the subject of the next program. This one was BC, before clergy. Before clergy for 300 years, from 600 BC to 300 around that time AD, our people, they kept their language, they kept their identity, they had one faith. They switched to Christianity. When they switched to Christianity, there was no denominations, even though they were into two different empires. They kept their culture, they kept their language, they kept their identity, they had the same faith. Then around 300, which I will talk about in the next program, from Ashur BC before clergy, we will go to Ashur AC after clergy. What happens? Maronite, Jacobite, Nestorite, Chaldean. But before then, for the first 300 years, we had a faith. We had a way. Both empires. Then clergy and religion came in. Why talk about this subject? If we have a problem now, year 2025, if there is an issue, we have issues with uniting, reuniting, being one people, one name, one everything, we have to go back in history to see what happened. What happened back then, past 2000, 25, 2600 years. We look at it to see what happened. See, maybe through the mistakes that made over there at that time, we can come and try to solve the problem. Because if you don't have a problem, don't worry about it. Live your life, enjoy whatever you have. But most of us that love our nation, love our name, love who we are, love the people that suffered for our name, for our faith, we care. For those of us, now we got to the end of the program. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. Ahia Ashur Khaya. Khaya Ashur. Mabqila. Thank you, and I'll see you next program. Bye bye.
شيخاني